So good morning and welcome to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. And I would like to invite our lovely, lovely friends, Ira and Julia, to kick us off with some music this morning.
We would love to do that. Very apropos for what we were all just talking about. That beauty has claimed you, wherever we are.
Side by side, wide as the horizon, giddy as a bride, the universe inside them. There's a caravan of dawn, lighting up the curve, always moving on, breaking up the darkness with an aviary song, singing beauty has claimed you. Seasons have changed you. This moment reveals you. Nothing conceals you. Lighten up the streets, lighten up the fields, splash the sky in streaks of azure lilac, gold and teal. Beauty has claimed you. Seasons have changed you. This moment reveals you. Nothing conceals you. Oh. Gather up all the broken hearts, put them in a river of seamless starts, set them in motion, lighten their burden, head for the ocean, flowing out over, away from the falls, rising like mist, until they can't recall not being kissed by sunbeams. Beauty has claimed you. Seasons have changed you. This moment reveals you. Nothing conceals you. Beauty has claimed you. Beauty has claimed you. Seasons have changed you. Seasons have changed you. This moment reveals you. Nothing conceals you.
Woo, that was beautiful. That was like meditation. I like that line, nothing conceals you.
Yeah. It's very
Beautiful.
much about what we were talking. It's so funny how it just kind of folded right into what we were talking about earlier, Nan and everyone. You know, beauty has claimed you. The seasons have changed you. Nothing conceals you. You know, we have this unlimited possibility. So,
Thank you. That was just beautiful. Oh, what a way to begin. And welcome everybody again. And I want to invite our practitioner of the day, Rob McGregor, to kick us off here with. You probably have a few words, which I always enjoy hearing, and some prayer.
Good idea. Cool. It was kind of funny because this morning I was thinking about what I might be saying to you people, and story I was going to tell involved Reverend Gisela, and at 8:45 my phone rings, and it's Gisela calling me by accident, which is bizarre and wonderful at the same time. I keep a synchronicity journal, and anytime a thought immediately precedes an experience, it goes in the synchronicity journal. So that one goes in there definitely. And anyway, when my dad was alive, Morgan and I would drive up to visit him. He was a dyed in the wool atheist, not a very compassionate guy when I was a kid. It was not the easiest thing to be his son, but somewhere along the way in his development, he became kind. And every 2 weeks, Morgan and I would drive up to his home in Orange County to spend the night. And I remember Morgan interacting with him. And she might be saying something that I knew he disagreed with. But I noticed that he would listen to what she had to say. He would find some part of what she said that he could agree with, then offer up some supporting evidence of why she was right. And I remember thinking, this guy has become really kind. He's a good role model for me. Well, this month, Michelle is speaking on gentleness. The past 2 weeks, she's spoken about gentleness with ourselves and gentleness with others. This week, if she's true to form, she's probably speaking about gentleness in our culture and our politics. Now, I assume that that involves gentleness in such contentious issues as, say, Israelis versus Palestinians or Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. And I recently had an experience with this sort of thing. Okay, less than 48 hours ago, I was attending a party where someone did a head count, and I heard there were about 75 people in attendance. I would say that 20% of these people were science of mind people, and the rest were from all walks of life. And I counted 3 CSL ministers there, but Reverend Gisela got selected to do our invocation. And she used the musician sound system because there were a lot of us. And as always, she did a stellar job. Okay, so each table sat about 8 people. Morgan was on my left, but on my right was a couple I had never met before. And as we spoke, it became obvious that they were obsessed with one particular issue. They were absolutely determined to educate us on the subject of why universal health care was a horrible idea. So much so that the subject came up multiple times in the conversation. Now, this is not an issue that keeps me up at night, but I'm probably on the opposite side of the issue than they. And the amazing thing was that these people, with their obvious conversational agenda, were somehow still entertaining. Somehow these people who should have been annoying had become instead interesting. How'd that happen? Do you know what it was? It was Reverend Gisela's invocation. It was feeling the unity of the universe in Gisela's prayer. It was feeling the oneness that made everything in the universe okay, even annoying dinner partners. So I'm going to propose we do an experiment. And I'm never going to ask you if you tried this or if you got anything out of it. This is the part of the service where I do the invocation. And if you're inclined to close your eyes during such things, you might want to do that now. But before I begin, if you're willing, think of someone who is really irritating, someone who really pushes your buttons. This could be someone in your life currently, but if you can't think of anyone who's in your life now, think of someone from your past. Okay, good. Now, imagine them standing in front of you and take a quick note of how you feel about their presence. I'm about to do our morning invocation. And if you get the chance when I'm done, see if it's any easier to imagine them standing in front of you. See if maybe they became not so bad after all. And you see if my declaration of unity makes it any better that they are sharing this universe with you. Ready? Because here we go. Oh, and I always like this part. This is the part where we get to feel the goodness that is so undeniable. This is where we get to feel the God that is so obvious all the time, except when we're not looking for it. But right now, I suggest that we are looking for the God. We are feeling the God. We are in the God. We are that which the God is. We are so wonderful in this wonderful presence. We feel the warmth. We feel the joy. We feel the support. We feel this I cannot fail feeling, that knowing that it's always there for us, always there anytime we beckon it. And we are always so blessed to have it. I am feeling so good because I know that this feeling that I am certain we all experience, this feeling is about to make Michelle's talk even better in our experience. It's about to make Ira and Julia's music even better, because this feeling of knowing God at the same time in conjunction with experience in the music is an altogether better experience. I know right now that the joy of being together is enhanced because of our certainty that we are so supported and so buoyed by this presence. This is just a wonderful thing. I am delighted this is so. I am so happy that this is the truth for us right now. And so I release my word unto the universe. It's been a pleasure saying it, and it's a pleasure experiencing it. I let it be, I let it go. And as the one that we are, we say, and so it is. And now I've probably got more fun. Here we go. April's affirmation, if you care to join me. Stand forth and speak, Spirit within me. Proclaim thy presence and announce thy course. Declare through me your wondrous works. The Spirit within speaks words of truth and life to all. The Spirit within me is God. And that's from Ernest. And that being done, my guess is it's time to hear from the Levins again. Hopefully that's true. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right.
So, this is inspired by a quote by Albert Einstein, and maybe something that I read from Yogananda. Basically, it was saying, if you want to travel at the speed of light, you'd have to have the circumference of infinity. And I said to Julia, well, we can do that. If I were here, I'm sure he would agree. If you want to move around at light's velocity, you've got to think big as infinity. So take the afternoon and come along. with me. Hey, let's be big today. We'll travel all around, chasing troubles away. They'll never see us coming, they'll wonder why they're humming. Come on, what you say, let's be big today. Sitting on a moving mountain of gold, riding out past everything that I've been told. Internal navigation, blindsided by degrees. Fear of not succeeding was defining me. I'd rather think big, so I'm getting out of my way, out into the open where it's not so great. Hey, let's be big today. We'll travel all around, chasing troubles away. They'll never see us coming, they'll wonder why they're humming. Come on, what you say, let's be big today. Bigger than heartache, bigger than strife. We're breaking the chains of darkness and light. When I am in tatters and about to cave in elementary matters, be the particle and the wave. When you're scared and lose your way, be the particle and the wave. Stand and be brave, be the particle and the wave. Hey, let's be big today. We'll travel all around, chasing troubles away. They'll never see us coming, they'll wonder why they're humming. Come on, what you say, let's be big today. Bigger than heartache, bigger than strife. We're breaking the chains,
Be the particle and the wave.
bigger than heartache, bigger than strife. We're breaking the chains, be the particle and the wave. Hey, let's be big today. We'll travel all around, chasing troubles away. They'll never see us coming, they'll wonder why they're humming. Come on, what you say, let's be big today.
Oh, Al would love that. I'm sure he's listening.
Yay.
Excellent, excellent.
Yes, excellent, excellent. We're going to be the particle and the wave.
Right on.
I love that. Well, welcome again to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living's online Sunday service. And I always like to say, I like to be inclusive. So I like to say, if you're listening in real time or in replay, we're just glad you're here and just glad you're connecting. And I trust that no matter if you're in real time or replay, that you will find something here that uplifts and that benefits your life. So as Rob said, our focus for April is the quality of gentleness, how gentleness invites us to be present with what is in the moment, to take that sacred pause of mindfulness and connect with the living presence of the divine that we see all around us, that is behind every situation, every event, and every experience, and to be present with it without any pushback, to just let it be, to let the pathway of our heart and how we feel lead the way so that we can just be present with what is. I was reminded as I was thinking about gentleness of what our founder, Ernest Holmes, said when he spoke to a crowd at Asilomar, California in 1959, which was one of his final messages. And he said, I'm going to read it so I don't mess up his words. So he said, find me one person who is for something and against nothing, who is redeemed enough not to condemn others out of the burden of their own soul. And I will find you another Savior, another Jesus, and another exalted human being. To find him someone who is for something and against nothing. That seems like a really tall order. But you know what? It's not. This potential lives within all of us to be for something and against nothing. It isn't that we close our eyes to the pain and suffering of the world. No, we just simply recognize that everything is contained within the one life of God. Even when an event, we were talking about this before the service, even when an event like a war, a disaster, an epidemic doesn't look like an expression of God, it is contained within the activity of God and can be used to transform us. It's the process of dying to the old and being born to the new. It is, I believe, the action of clearing the way for a fuller expression of love so that we can heal our misconceptions about ourselves, about our world and our place in it, both individually and collectively as a human consciousness, so that we can expand the expression of God in and through our physical world, for the benefit of us and all of God's creation. In the midst of war, we're called to stand for peace and not just speak it, although that is powerful, but to nurture it and feel it in our hearts. In the midst of a natural disaster, we're called to care for each other, to love each other, and to become more loving stewards of the natural world. In the midst of the pandemic, like the one we just had, we're called to stand for our wholeness and our vitality and our physical well-being. We are empowered when we can be with what is in the moment and not be defined by it. We are empowered when we are within the larger life of God. And we're not saying that we should ignore our human pain and suffering. We be with it, but in a new way, and we use it to the best of our ability. We use it to nurture and comfort ourselves and others as we walk through it together, and to collectively create a world of unity rather than of separation. And that doesn't come through pushing against anything, but it comes through standing for, as Ernest said, standing in and being with that inherent wholeness that we already are in God. So as Rob suggested, today's talk is called Taking It to the Streets, which is about changing the world through social activism. And it seems an odd topic to go hand in hand with gentleness. It almost seems counterintuitive, unless viewed from the perspective of Holmes' admonition to be for something and against nothing, to view the world through the perspective of unity and not the separation of us against them. Then we're called to work together. If my good is not your good, then it isn't good. My good must be your good, and it must be born of love. And that's how we make the monumental changes that are needed in our world today. And like all of you, when I look around and I see the challenges we face now, sometimes I almost feel paralyzed. How can I of myself support positive change? There's truly only one way, and that way is the way of love. To love the divine presence that we are, the divine presence that we see in others, and to love the divine presence in and through all of creation, in our natural world, in everything, and to, in our own way, do loving things, do kind things. Ernest Holmes said that the human heart longs for, as a hungry man longs for bread, for spiritual food. It longs for that which will make it whole. And I think that's what our teaching can do, to reveal self to self, as Holmes put it, the larger self with a capital S to the human self. That's how we change the world. in our recognition that any interaction we have with life is the God self revealing itself to our human self, self to self. You know, I read a story written by a man named Joseph Mazzella. He's a writer, a producer, a director. Honestly, I'd never heard of him before I read the story. But let's see, I'm going to read a little bit of the story. But he wrote about an experience he had at the onset of the coronavirus pandemic back in 2020. And he sets the stage by saying that it was the first day of spring, but it didn't feel like the first day of spring because of the pandemic. And the pandemic was sweeping the globe. And he was consumed with feelings of uncertainty and fear and loneliness and even despair. I don't know, some of us may have had exactly the same feelings. And social distancing had become the norm. Schools were closing, restaurants were closed, and when possible, people were all working from home. We went online during that time. And Joseph recalled that even the sheltered workshop where his oldest son worked had been closed until further notice, he said. But people had made a run on the store. Remember the run on the stores and the toilet paper scare? You know, a lot of the shelves I noticed were bare in the store during that period of time. And on the news, they would recount to us every day the number of sick and the number of the dead, and they were always rising. And Joseph wrote that his own family was staying home as much as possible, and every day he'd look out his window and he wondered how long this crisis would last. Do you remember all that? I remember all that. I'm going to read his words now because he tells the rest of his story pretty well here. He wrote, "It was then, however, that I saw something that lifted that weight off my soul, made my face smile, and made my heart feel happy again out of the midst of challenge," right? On the street below my house, there was an old friend of mine from high school who was a teacher now. And along with him was my younger son's aide from high school. And they were delivering the school lunches door to door to the hungry children who were stuck at home. Watching them made me think of something everybody's childhood television neighbor, Mr. Rogers, once said. I know Relaine said this one time to us. "In the bad times, always look for the helpers. I have no doubt this crisis will pass, as all crises before it have, but it is our choice on whether it brings out the best in us or the worst in us. Let it bring out the best in us. Use it to your strength. Use it to strengthen your faith. Use it to free yourself from fear. Use it to grow kinder, more giving, and more loving, because a helper to all those in need, be a helper to all those in need, and you will be doing God's work today and in all the days to come." And then reflecting upon how this crisis affected many of us, and especially in our own community, I think that's true. We realized it rose to the top what was the most important. You know, and this is true during the pandemic, and it's true during any human challenge that we face. And as simple as it seems, I believe this is the way we change the world, through a gentle tenderness of spirit and open hearts that allow love to lead the way in everything we do. Let the cream rise. Let the goodness of our better angels, as I think it was Abraham Lincoln said, rise to the top. You know, and as you probably know, I saw Abigail was online this morning. One Heart, One Mind belongs to the Poway Interfaith team, or Point, and I serve on the board. And we met last Wednesday to plan a discussion panel event that we're having probably sometime in the summer. And I was reminded again, the reason interfaith organizations are beneficial, and that's because they ask us to rise above the dogmas of our spiritual traditions, the things that divide us and separate us, and above the notion that, well, that's the way it's always been done. and into something new. Inner faith invites us to rise above all the differences we think we have and to look for our commonalities. And there are so many, many, many commonalities, not the least of which are the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Or there's only one God, or God is love, or do no harm. These are all commonalities of all faith traditions. And there are many, many, many more. I read this powerful passage by Mother Teresa. She said that it is necessary to pray. The fruit of prayer is deepening of faith. Isn't that true? The fruit of prayer is the deepening of faith, and the fruit of faith is love. And love is action in service. And so acts of love are acts of peace. Do you see how she took that from the inner world and brought it in to action in the world? Acts of love are acts of peace. And this is the golden rule. And again, I believe this is how we change the world. This is how we take it to the streets. One conscious act of love at a time, living from an attitude of unity and oneness and not of separation. And I certainly don't want to make it sound like this is so easy. It's always easy to view the world through the eyes of love and unity, because honestly, that has certainly not been my experience. And I know it's probably not been yours either. But I've come to believe that seeing through the eyes of love is a bit like a dimmer switch. You know, those little switches that make the light go really low or really high, a dimmer switch. And I love this metaphor because the dimmer switch is cranked up as we develop the skill to be able to see the world through the eyes of love, to be able to engage with life from a perspective of love and unity rather than separation. And it's a learned skill. It is a learned skill. The dimmer switch metaphor acknowledges it's not always easy to call up a loving attitude for people and things we find objectionable. It is not for me. Or that go against what we all believe is really true about life. And it does something else too. It gives us permission to forgive ourselves when we fall short of the gentle lovingness that we want to hold, that we really truly do want to hold for ourselves and others. But I like this dimmer switch idea, and it gives us a place to start and a way to move our inner attitude upward to feel more and more loving. I used the dimmer switch idea this week with the snake that lives in my garden. Now, I know a couple of years ago, I told you the story of how I made peace with the garter snake that lives in my yard. And the other day I saw him again. Well, it was either him or one of his relatives. So spring must be here. And I used the dimmer switch metaphor to kind of warm me up to the idea that I was seeing God in the form of a snake, God in the clever disguise of a snake. Anyway, there's really not much that I find appealing about snakes. They've always kind of creeped me out. But if I'm going to practice science of mind, and if I'm going to behave as if the God in all life matters, if I'm going to live from the truth that everything really is God, then snakes have to be included in that. I'm not going to hang out with them, and I'm probably not going to invite them inside, but I have to be able to find a way to be at peace with them and to see the energy and the light of life in them, the spirit within them. I actually only saw this year's snake just briefly, but I keep having the image pop into my head. So here's what I've been doing. I'm very gradually moving my dimmer switch up. Whenever I walk outside, I take a breath because I'm always afraid I'm going to run into him or step on him or something. And I think about the snake, and I think about his smooth and his shiny skin, covered with the beautiful scales that protect it. And I imagine touching them. And I imagine that they're dry and not slimy. And then I think about all of the insects and the rodents and the other things that make my snake friend a benefit to my garden. It keeps all my plants safe. And I think about its place in this interwoven harmony and balance of nature that we live in. and my dimmer switch goes up, and the light of the snake slowly but surely starts to get brighter and brighter. And the point is that we can be loving in a variety of ways. Things don't have to look like the stereotypical image of love. They can still embody the sacred essence of love, of God's love. Love can be in a spectrum like a dimmer switch. And we don't always have to set it on the brightest setting in order to experience it, to experience or express love. And we don't have to beat ourselves up or sit in judgment of ourselves if we can't always muster up more than, well, he's not a bad looking snake. We don't have to say, oh, he's gorgeous and beautiful. We can start with, it's not a bad looking snake. And then we can still say, I see you. I acknowledge that you exist and that you have a right to be here. And I accept that my acknowledgement of Mr. Snake is the seed that I'm planting that's going to grow into a fuller and fuller expression of love. So here's the thing, as I turn up my dimmer switch, I shorten the distance psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually between me and Mr. Snake. Because it's the same with everything else around me. My dimmer switch can shorten that distance between me and the politician that I detest, or the neighbor on the corner who leaves his garbage cans out for days, or the rude guy who goes around me impatiently on the road because maybe I'm going too slow, or you get the picture. And as my dimmer switch goes up for one aspect of creation, it hones my skill to see more and more things through the eyes of love. And as Mother Teresa said, acts of love are acts of peace, a strong and gentle peace, which we're all called to be. We're all called to be that. And it begins in our hearts first. Any acts of war within me, I must address and heal. I have to address them first individually, and then we can address them collectively, because we're all in this together. It's funny because I had an experience the other day in which I had to consciously disarm myself through that gentle pause of sacred mindfulness. It was a social media situation, and I don't often post, but I posted something that I thought was pretty innocuous, it was slightly political, but not really. As far as most political posts go, it was pretty milquetoast. And it was really a positive expression of a political figure's character. It seemed like a compliment, but I got this really snarky comment from someone that I know. I don't know him real well, but a person that I've interacted with from time to time. And I was gutted. I was like so surprised. And I wanted to fire back, but I didn't. Instead, I decided to delete the whole thing. I started to think about the way in which people get sucked up into this us against them world of politics that we see all over the place right now. And I know how that feels because it's happened to me before, but I found the wherewithal within me to turn up my dimmer switch. Now, don't get me wrong. I do believe that character matters, that integrity, respectfulness, kindness, authenticity matter in our political figures. And my opinion hasn't changed, but I don't want to contribute to division in any way. I'll stand for truth. I'll speak truth, but I will not join anyone in their view of division and separation. And that can be a challenge. It can be a challenge to live and honor this commitment. But if we want to be catalysts for change, our hearts must be committed to the gentleness and to the strength of peace. There can't be exceptions. There can't be exceptions just on special days. And this is taking it to the streets. It always begins in our own hearts. We are participants with. We are generative beings within the whole. If we're merely recipients of the good that God doles out and not generating within us, then we can't express it into the world. We can just receive, but we are givers as well. And then we're living a life of spiritual dependency. We generate good as well as receive it. We see ourselves as participants when we give back. We're working as a whole. We are many stars in a bright and beautiful universe. And we generate and hold in our heart what matters most to us. Peace, love, and being a part of the whole of the universe empowers us. We're a dynamic force. We're creative, and we have a personal responsibility. It makes the time that we spend here on planet Earth in our humanness important, valuable, because we matter. We generate and express the peace, the love, the joy of God in unison with one another. And as we do this, it emphasizes for us the sacredness of being human. This is sacred work, this work of being human. And we are on the cutting edge of our own sacred work. And we each contribute to the collective sacred work of humanity. I matter, you matter, we matter, and we can change the world. So let's pray. I know that we are all within the gentle, loving, strong embrace of the divine presence. And I know that each and every one of us is born of this strength and gentleness, of this kindness, of this ability to create and express as God on earth, because that's what we are. And so I speak my word for and about each and every one of us, that we are open to the possibility of the good of God becoming the experience that we have on earth. We know it is true. It is already true in mind. And now we are drawing it into experience because we are empowered. We are one with the great power of the universe. And right here, right now, we use it. We use it for our own good. We use it for the good of each other. We use it for universal good. It's all one good. So I just sit in that. I feel the generative quality of who and what I am and what we all are in the one. And we call on the presence of love to express itself in the world as peace and as bliss and as joy. So I sit in this with great gratitude. I know it's already true. And I know that these words I speak right here and right now are powerful. And they are making their way into experience in our world. So for this and so much more, I'm so grateful. I allow this to be. And together we say, and so it is. So that's taking it to the streets, folks. All right, so what are we doing now? Let's see, I'm not really sure who's doing the conscious giving. Is it you, Lisa? Oh, bless your sweetheart. All right, let me get that up for us. There we go.
Myself there. Well, this is one way that you can express your gratitude and love for the wise words of Reverend Rochelle and for our opportunity to join together. And so I think you all know the ways. There's Venmo, and then there's also the possibility of you mailing a check, and the address is on the screen, which is 1637 East Valley Parkway, number 2035, Escondido, California, 92027.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
I used to have these on the same slide, and somehow or another they got separated. So now I get to talk to you a little bit in between slides. Here we go.
All right. We could say this together. Everything flows from the nature of God's good. We receive from this flow. We give from this flow. We give in gratitude and in love. We have faith in the infinite giving nature of spirit. And so it is.
And so it is. Oh, thank you, Lisa. I'll come back to you in a minute for the benediction. We have our Monday, this is what's going on. We have our Monday prayer group as per usual tomorrow afternoon. And then this Tuesday, we have something new. We're gonna, I sent out some readings from Mark Nepo's book, Falling Down and Getting Up. And I also sent the introduction just in case you wanted to put it in context, but it's just that first little piece, and it does have some discussion questions at the end that I thought could help guide our discussion about his wise words. And he's a poet, and so his writing is very flowery and descriptive, and I find it pretty captivating. But anyway, I thought we could look at a couple of his essays from that book, and it's a beautiful book. And then let's see, we had the prayer group last week, so we won't be having it again this week, but the following week, and I'm not sure what date that is.
I think it's May 1st, Wednesday.
First,
I
okay,
think so.
all right. Thanks, Elaine. And then we're gonna come all the way around again back to Sunday. So there we go. I'm going to invite Lisa to. Oh, and don't forget about giving to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living. We've been coming up pretty regularly, about anywhere from $400 to $500 shy of what we need to meet every month. So if you can afford to give a little more, we'd always appreciate it. Thank you so much for your continued giving. I know so many of you give so much, and I'm so grateful for that. But anyway, let's see. How about, where are you, Lisa? There you are. How about a prayer, Lisa? And then we'll move into more music with Ira and Julia.
Okay. Okay, so why don't we just take a nice centering breath and just feel the gratitude for this service. The service has been blessed by everything, by the music, by Rob's words, and by Reverend Michelle's words, and a whole drawing together of the sense of harmony and unity. The other side of what we see every day in terms of being bombarded with other kinds of messages. And so I feel so blessed that today I feel brought back to that centering space of really leaning on our teachings, our learnings, and that sense of taking a higher path, of really recognizing the importance of love to create the unity and peace that we want to live in and give forth to the world. And knowing that each of us coming together with one another are a part of that whole unity that can change the world and can create the peace and love and harmony that we would like to have expanded throughout the universe. And so I release my words into the law, knowing that it's done, that the harmony and love and peace exist, and we have the ability and perspective and love to draw it in. And so I release my word into the law by saying, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Lisa. Beautiful. Hey, if I can love Mr. Snake, we can love anybody.
That's it. You want me to say like this about Mr. Snake?
I
I've
don't know.
got work to do.
Okay, I read you. Take it away.
We
Taking it to the streets. Oh, yeah. Taking it to the streets.
We don't actually know that song.
Well,
but that's about all we know.
But we had to sing that,
We did. But you will know this one, and we hope that you.
And this is taken to the streets, in the way that you were really intending it. Love is but a song we sing, fears the way we die. You can make the mountains ring, or make the angels sigh. Though the dove is on the wing, and you may not know why. Come on, people, now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now.
Now we sing Sister.
Come on, people, now, smile on your sister. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Some will come and some will go, and we will surely pass. When the love that brought us here returns for us at last, we are just a moment's sunlight fading in the grass. Come on, people, now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Come on, people, now, smile on your sister. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. If you hear the song I sing, you will understand. You hold the key to love and fear, all in your trembling hand. Just one key unlocks them both. It's there at your command. Come on, people, now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Come on, people, now, smile on your sister. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Each other. Come on, people, now, smile on each other. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Right now. Right now.
Woohoo! Yes.
Woo! Out in the street.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. That was lovely.
Okay, thank you.
Really, really.
Thanks for singing along.
Oh, yeah. Can't help it. So I just want to thank everyone. Thank you, Rob, for your wonderful words in the beginning. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you for the music. Thank you for thank you.
Thank you for an amazing
Man,
talk today.
really good
that
talk
was
today.
It
My
was
goodness.
a really,
Excellent.
really much
Really
needed
powerful.
and wonderful, powerful
Yeah.
talk today. So thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. Sometimes I think we feel disempowered by what's happening around us, and we begin to define what we're able to do by what's happening in the world, and that nothing could be further from the truth.
That's great.
And we forget that. I forget that.
Mm.
And then we meet Mr. Snake and we get to practice. I was like, I saw his tail sticking out from underneath some bushes out. I don't, really know if it was Mr. or Mrs. Snake. It doesn't matter. But I'm like, oh, the snake is back. Okay, here's my work.
Right.
So I am going to go ahead and stop the recording.